What's going on in Jan van Eyck's Arnolfini Portrait? Is it a wedding, a business deal, or maybe a very fancy family photo? This masterpiece has held art lovers puzzled for centuries. On the surface, it's a couple standing in a lavish room. But look a little closer and things get weird. Why the mirror? What's with the dog? And what's up with that mysterious hand gesture? Today, we will break down the secrets behind this classic painting and uncover its hidden clues. You should stick around because you don't want to miss what we find. Jan van Eyck, a name that might sound like the kind of guy who'd bring a weirdly perfect dish to your dinner party, was one of the most important painters of the 15th century. Born in the early 1390s in what is now Belgium, Van Eyck wasn't just any artist, he was the rock star of Northern Renaissance painting, and his works are still admired today for their great detail of innovation. No one could make a single drop of water look as if it could splash off the canvas, quite like Jan. His most famous work, the Arnolfini Portrait, features a couple standing in their home, surrounded by incredible details. Every texture, from the fur trim to the reflection in the mirror, is so well drawn that it's as if you could reach out and touch it. This ability to capture not only the physical, but also the symbolic meaning behind things made Van Eyck at the top of his game in the art world. He wasn't just painting pretty pictures, he was creating stories with every brushstroke. Speaking of game changers, the Northern Renaissance, where Van Eyck thrived, was like Europe's artsy revolution in the 1400s. While Italy was busy with its own Renaissance, think Da Vinci, Michelangelo, and all those chiseled marble statues, Northern Europe was doing its own thing, bringing a lot more detail and realism into the mix. Think of it like the difference between a quick snapshot and a well-painted, highly detailed Instagram post. More texture, more layers, more life. Van Eyck, in particular, was a master of oil painting, a relatively new medium at the time. He didn't just use oil paint to make things look slick, he used it to bring his paintings to life, with light, shadow, and depth. It was like he'd figured out the secret recipe for painting in a way no one had quite done before. The importance of oil painting wasn't just technical, it was symbolic. It allowed artists to show off the world with all its imperfections and wonders, making art feel more personal and relatable. So, in short, Jan van Eyck wasn't just painting, he was pushing the boundaries of what art could do. His skill, combined with the unique vibe of the Northern Renaissance, made him one of the key figures in transforming European art into something entirely new. Pretty cool for someone who, spent a lot of time staring at how reflective a carpet or a piece of glass could be. Jan van Eyck's Arnolfini Portrait is packed with so many details that looking at it feels like playing an art history scavenger hunt. Every object, pose, and reflection has meaning, or at least has been given meaning by centuries of art historians trying to decode it. Let's break it down. At first glance, the painting seems simple. A well-dressed man and woman stand in a richly decorated room, holding hands. But look closer, and you'll see Van Eyck's incredible attention to detail. Giovanni di Niccolao di Arnolfini, an Italian merchant, is on the left, wearing a dark robe and a luxurious hat that looks like he's trying to start a medieval fashion trend. His wife, possibly Giovanna Cenami, stands on the right in a luxurious green gown with a great amount of fabric, giving off "I have money" energy. The space itself is intimate, yet carefully staged. The room is compact, but Van Eyck uses perspective brilliantly. Notice how the lines of the wooden floorboards lead your eye toward the back of the room. The convex mirror at the center, it acts as a clever visual trick, making the room seem larger, while also revealing two additional figures, one of whom might be Van Eyck himself. The dog, a tiny, fluffy dog, stands between the couple. Cute, right? But he's not just there for aesthetic appeal. The dog symbolizes loyalty and fidelity, which makes sense if this is a wedding portrait, or maybe the couple really just love their pet, who knows. Let's talk about the mirror. This small but stunning convex mirror at the center of the painting is a security camera. It reflects not just the couple, but also two additional figures standing in the doorway. Some believe this suggests a witness to a marriage ceremony. Around the mirror, tiny medallions show scenes from Christ's Passion, an extra layer of religious meaning. Now to the chandelier. A single candle burns in the chandelier. Even though it's broad daylight, this could symbolize the all-seeing eye of God, or it could just be a weird flex about wealth. Either way, it adds a touch of mystery. What about the bed? The bright red bed in the background screams opulence, but it also hints at fertility and domestic life. In a time when marriages were largely about producing heirs, this could be a subtle nudge toward their family future plans. The clothes and objects are not left out. The wife's heavy fur-lined dress isn't just for fashion, it's a status symbol. Those oranges on the windowsill? Imported and expensive, meaning these two had serious money. Even the wooden clogs on the floor might have symbolized a sacred space, hinting that something important is happening. So, what does it all mean? Art historians have debated this painting for centuries. Some argue it's a wedding portrait, others believe it's a betrothal scene, and a few even suggest it could be a memorial painting for a deceased wife. The symbols seem to point toward marriage and fidelity, but Van Eyck leaves just enough ambiguity to keep us guessing. One thing's for sure, this is no ordinary couple's portrait, whether it's a document of love, status, or something in between. Van Eyck masterfully packed this painting with meaning, making it one of the most intriguing works in art history. And hey, if nothing else, it proves that even in the 1400s, people loved showing off their wealth in portraits. By now, you would argue that Jan van Eyck wasn't just a painter. He was so good at his art that another work before him felt like a rough sketch. His technique with oil paints, it set a new standard for artists, making the Arnolfini Portrait feel almost like a high-definition photograph centuries before cameras existed. Let's see how he pulled it off. Oil paint, the medieval magic potion. Before Van Eyck, most European painters worked with tempera, a fast-drying paint that didn't allow for much blending or detail, but Van Eyck took oil painting to another level. Oil paint dries slowly, meaning he can layer colors, adjust shading, and create depth that has never been seen before. It's like going from a basic crayon drawing to a hyper-realistic digital painting. This technique allowed him to achieve mind-blowing levels of detail. Look at the fabrics. The delicate folds in the wife's heavy green gown, they look so soft that you can almost feel them. The dog's fur is so realistic, it seems like something you can pet. The polished brass chandelier, it reflects light just like real metal would. Even the wood grain on the floorboards is carefully rendered. He was flexing his skills with every brushstroke. Van Eyck also had a masterful understanding of light. Unlike medieval paintings where figures looked flat, his work had depth. Light falls naturally across the couple's faces, casting soft shadows that make them look three-dimensional. The highlights on the mirror, chandelier, and Arnolfini's robe add to the illusion of realism. Van Eyck's innovations changed painting forever. His precise layering of glazes painted richer colors, deeper shadows, and more realistic textures. He proved that paintings could capture not just people, but entire atmospheres. In short, he turned oil paint into the ultimate storytelling tool, and artists have been stealing his tricks ever since. The identities of the figures in the Arnolfini portrait have been a hot topic of debate for years. Traditionally, the man has been identified as Giovanni di Niccolao di Arnolfini, a wealthy Italian merchant living in Bruges. The woman was thought to be his wife, Costanza Trenta. Sounds simple, right? Well, not so fast. Records suggest Costanza had already died by 1433, a year before Jan van Eyck painted this masterpiece in 1434. So, if that's true, who is the woman in the portrait? A second wife? A tribute to Costanza? Or is this even Giovanni di Niccolai at all? Some historians argue it could be a completely different Arnolfini, since there were multiple wealthy merchants with that surname in Bruges. Because of this uncertainty, the meaning of the painting has been widely debated. The most popular interpretation is that it's a wedding or a betrothal. The couple's joined hands, the presence of witnesses, visible in the mirror's reflection, and the symbolic elements, like the dog representing fidelity and the single-lit candle symbolizing God's presence, support this theory. At the time, marriages weren't always conducted in churches, so a domestic setting wasn't unusual for a legal union. But not everyone buys the wedding theory. Some argue that this is a business contract. Giovanni was a merchant, and his wealth came from trade. The way Van Eyck signs the painting, almost like a legal witness, suggests a formal agreement, possibly one involving financial matters. Others believe the painting is rich with religious symbolism. The removed shoes hint at a sacred space. The convex mirror could suggest divine presence, and the carved figure of St. Margaret, the patron saint of childbirth on the bedpost, might be a sign of fertility. Regardless of its true meaning, the Arnolfini portrait changed art history. Van Eyck's mastery of oil paint, light, and texture influenced countless artists, making this one of the most analyzed paintings ever. Wedding portrait, business deal, religious statement, maybe all three. Or maybe Van Eyck just loved a good mystery. And that's it for the Arnolfini Portrait, a painting full of secrets and mystery, and one very good dog. Whether it was a wedding, a legal contract, or just a flex of Van Eyck's skills, one thing is for sure, he knew how to paint and how to make sure no one forgot he was here. Let's start up a conversation with you. What do you think the painting represents, and how do you feel about this famous painting? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. Hit the subscribe button to get notified about more content from us.